The Brooklyn Nets will be without Cam Thomas for some time now. What is this going to mean for their spot in the playoff race, perhaps in the tank race? And what does it mean for the trade market? The Nets expected to be one of the biggest sellers out there on the market. How does this change their trade strategy? I'm Trevor Lane. Make sure you subscribe right here to the Basketball Bulletin. You know, only about 20% of our viewers are subscribed right now. If you find yourself in the other 80%, do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. I'm a little biased, but I don't think you'll regret it. All right, here's what's going on. According to Shams Charania, Brooklyn Nets rising star, and he really is. He's been incredible. Cam Thomas will miss 3 to 4 weeks to a left hamstring strain. Brutal. Thomas ranks 14th in the NBA in scoring, 24.7 points on 46% shooting from the field, 39% from three. You know, people want to characterize Cam Thomas as just a gunner. And there's questions about whether or not he should even be a starter. Should he be a sixth man? Is that really the final archetype for him, to be a sixth man microwave scorer? But look what he's doing as a starter: 25 points per game, 3.2 boards, 3.4 assists, and the efficiency, 39% from three, 46% from the field. He's not just a gunner, just chucking up shots inefficiently. No, he's been extremely efficient. That's on 7.4 three-point attempts per game. He's shooting 39% from three. Certainly one of the exciting young players in the league. The Nets did not come to terms on an extension with him, which means he's headed towards restricted free agency this summer, and potentially a player who could be available on the trade market and very, very easy to trade for that contract of $4 million. We'll talk a bit more about what this means for the trade market in just a moment. Right now, the Brooklyn Nets, one of the surprises of the NBA. I know a lot of the focus has been on the Cavs and their rise. It's been on the struggles of the 76ers as well as the Milwaukee Bucks, who are now rising in the East. They're back to 500. But the Brooklyn Nets, being the 8th seed in the East right now, they were expected to be one of the worst teams in the NBA period this season. Very much trying to capture the flag, the Cooper flag in the NBA draft. But the Nets right now 8-10 on the season. They're the 8th seed, and look at what they've done recently. Look at what they've just done. You beat the Warriors and the Kings. Those are their last two games. They've got wins over the Warriors and the Sacramento Kings. Impressive stuff. And especially the win over the Warriors. Look what happened. Look at this. Now, he's okay, but Cam Johnson, one of their main guys, a guy that's going to be very available out there in the trade market, only played 14 minutes due to an ankle injury. Now, he's okay. He was not able to return against the Warriors, but he is going to play tonight for the Brooklyn Nets. Cam Thomas, though, not so. Unfortunately, he is going to miss time. Played 20, but look at that. Played 23 minutes and put up 23 points, a point per minute for Cam Thomas. And the Nets, even with Thomas only playing 23 minutes and Cam Johnson only playing 14, they still got the win over one of the better teams in the West, the Golden State Warriors. Look at that, 8 of 8 from the free throw line. Cam Thomas, he is so talented. So what does this mean for the Nets? Well, you never want to see a good player injured like this, but you have to wonder if maybe this is, I hesitate to say a blessing in disguise, but if it helps them figure out exactly what they really need to do here. Because right now, the tank race for some of this incredible top-end talent in the Eastern Conference, and you look at what Jordy Fernandez has gotten out of the Nets, it's been impressive, but the tank race, it's serious. I mean, the 76ers, maybe they're tanking for the Thunder. Their pick is only top 6 protected. Could wind up going to Thunder, but they are 3-13. The Nets already have double the wins of the 76ers. The Nets have quadruple the wins of the Washington Wizards, who are 2-14. You've got double the wins of the Toronto Raptors. The Charlotte Hornets only have 6 wins right now. So the bottom line is that if the Nets really want to get into the mix for that top end talent that's going to be available in this year's draft, they're going to have to start losing games. And selling off some players certainly will help. Now, the problem is this isn't typically trade season in the NBA. And we've talked about how this season, because there are so many intriguing talents at the top of this year's draft class, you could actually see teams selling a little bit earlier in the season than normal because they find themselves in the position that, say, the Nets are in, the Bulls are in, where they know they need to get that top-end talent, and they're not going to just rely on lottery luck. They need to find a way to drop games, and that means trading away some players. So for the Nets, there's a handful of guys we'll talk about. For the Bulls, it means Zach LaVine, it means Nikola Vucevic, players like that they can move on from. But I wonder if this injury to Cam Thomas, while the trade market is still developing and maybe the offers aren't exactly where they want them, for guys like Cam Johnson, for Cam Thomas, for Nick Claxton, for Dennis Schroeder, the list goes on with the Brooklyn Nets. Maybe this does allow them to step back, lose some games a little bit. As fun as the Nets have been, I do think for their long-term future, adding a star-level talent in the draft is going to raise their ceiling significantly. So as fun as the Nets have been, and they've been one of my favorite teams in the NBA this season, and I think their future is so bright, the injury to Cam Thomas might be the clarifying moment here that firmly puts the Nets on the tanking path. Now, you could argue maybe they've already won too many games. You can argue Jordi Fernandez is doing too good of a job with this club and getting them to play at such a high level, but maybe this pushes them to, especially if they drop a few games now without their 25-point per game scorer, to go ahead and make some moves with some of these players. Again, I've talked about the Brooklyn Nets. They are your one-stop shopping. If you are an NBA team and you're looking to make a move, the Brooklyn Nets are your answer. You've got everything you could want. Whatever it is your team needs, the Brooklyn Nets have it, and I love this for the Nets. I love what the future can be. Cam Thomas is even surprisingly available. Now, does this diminish his market? Maybe if there was a club looking to add him right now, maybe it hurts a little bit there, and they'll want to wait a few weeks to see him come back. But everybody knows what Cam Thomas is. I don't think, as a young player, I don't think this hurts his value much. But he is surprisingly, because he's going to be a restricted free agent this summer, he is a player that they will consider trading. Also, maybe a bit of a surprise, Nick Claxton, a great center. I really like him a lot. Maybe great is going too far, but I like Nick Claxton a lot. I think he can help a lot of teams, but he is also a player they will consider. Basically anyone they'll consider trading. Bojan Bogdanovic, a veteran, $19 million expiring contract. You've got a $40 million expiring in Ben Simmons. So if you're a team that needs to shed salary, the Nets can help you do that. At the right price, of course, but if you need to get long-term money off your books, the Nets can offer you the solution there. If you want a young, springy big man, and there's a number of teams right now that need a center, the Nets have Nick Claxton. If you're looking for a wing, as teams always are, Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith is a 3-and-D archetype wing. Then you need a point guard. Dennis Schroeder is playing at an extremely high level this season, and he's a veteran, 31 years old. He led Germany during the Olympics. This is a guy you know you can count on. So the Nets are really situated in such a very positive way right now to cash in on not necessarily all of these players, but some of these guys. And while I hate seeing a young player like Cam Thomas go down due to injury, I do wonder if this pushes the Nets in the direction they ultimately need to go, and that's fully into sell mode here out on the market. Because, again, I think their ceiling isn't going to be reached unless they land a star. And as impressive as they've been, you have to wonder if continuing to win games just gives them reason to hold off on fully embracing the tank and selling off some of these veteran talents that, let's face it, as good as Dennis Schroeder has been this season, he's not going to be on the team when they're ready to contend. He's 31 years old. He's not going to be one of their guys when they're ready to contend. Bogdanovic, certainly, if you can get interest in him, he's not going to be around. He's 35, 36 years old. You need to move off from him. You can even argue, look, Cam Johnson, 28, I think he's close. He should be okay to where by the time the Nets are good again, he's still good, but he'll be entering the later stages of his prime, probably when he starts getting to 30, 31. He came in as an older rookie. So you've got some guys. Dorian Finney-Smith, certainly, he's into his 30s now as well. It just makes sense, even as these guys are helping you win games right now, to move on from them, at least a few of them, and recoup whatever assets you can right now, especially with the guys that are on expiring deals, or in the case of Dorian Finney-Smith, he's on a player option for the next year. Now is the time to cash in on Finney-Smith. Now is the time to cash in on Dennis Schroeder. Get a future asset that can help you win this team's building process is getting closer to being completed. That's what you're looking to do if you're the Brooklyn Nets. And so you hate seeing an injury to a young player like Cam Thomas. I personally don't think the Nets should move him. I think they should hang on to him. I do think there'll be interest in him on the market. It's very easy to trade for his contract at just $4 million. But unless I am really blown away by an offer, I'm not moving him if I'm the Brooklyn Nets. But I do wonder if this injury to Cam Thomas is enough to push the Nets a little bit earlier into sell mode, especially if they start dropping some of their upcoming games. Speaking of which, what is ahead on the schedule? What do the Nets have coming up? And could a string of losses push them into sell mode? Well, I mean, here you go. You've got back-to-back-to-back 3 tough games. Phoenix, Orlando. Now, again, you just beat a couple of good teams in Sacramento and Golden State, so never say never. But without Cam Thomas to keep up with the Suns scoring, to deal with Orlando's defense, that's not going to be easy. So 3 games in a row that are tough there. And then you go at Chicago. That Chicago game may matter quite a bit for the tank race. Indiana, Milwaukee. Let's say by Christmas, I mean, Toronto's a tanking team. Utah's a tanking team. I have a feeling you can get wins there. But Miami, Milwaukee, there's a good chance here at Orlando. If they only win, let's say 3 or 4 games for the remainder of the year as we get into January here, and there's a decent chance of that happening just because of the quality of teams that they're going to be playing. Phoenix, Orlando, you get Orlando again. San Antonio can be a challenge on any given night with Wemby. We know what he can do. Milwaukee, if they've turned a corner, you've got 2 matchups against them. If you drop both those, you may pick up some wins against Utah, maybe Toronto. Maybe you pick up a win against Chicago that I'd be trying to tank that one as much as I can. If you only pick up 3 or 4 wins for the remainder of the year, well, that may push an early January sell-off here from the Nets. And again, that may very well be the best thing for them. So sad news that Cam Thomas is going to be out for the next few weeks. Super exciting young player, but the Nets have so many intriguing assets to put out there on the trade market. And I think this could push them into sell mode even sooner than perhaps we expected. But everybody, let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Are the Nets going to move on from players now that they're going to be without their 25-point per game scorer, 14th in the NBA in points per game? Now that they're without him for at least 3 or 4 weeks, does this perhaps liven up the NBA's trade market a little bit earlier than it normally would? Give me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Until next time, everybody, go check out our latest video on the Miami Heat and a bold claim by Pat Riley about the Heatles with LeBron James. Go check that out right now.